On the latest edition of his show, Zach Lowe and guest John Hollinger discussed a little bit about Houston Rockets basketball, and something Hollinger said has got Rockets fans in an absolute frenzy. What he just said is absolutely wild, and we give you the details of what he said as well as their breakdowns for this Rocket squad next season. I'm your host, Donovan Regondo for Rockets Digest, where we break down the latest news, rumors, and updates regarding your H-Town team, the Houston Rockets. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in. However, 77.7% of you watching these videos are not yet subscribed. 777, that means if you subscribe today, you will have luck for the rest of your life. That is right, it is scientifically proven. If you subscribe to Rockets Digest, you receive that luck for your lifetime. So go ahead, hit that bell below. Now, we are going to talk about what these two NBA insiders discussed on their show. And it started off really well. It started off, talking about a lot of the key aspects that the Houston Rockets have done this offseason. Zach Lowe commended this team's ability to have acquired Kevin Durant, to acquire Dorian Finney-Smith from the Lakers, as well as signing and trading for Clint Capella, who he thinks is a great guy to supplement Steven Adams whenever Steven Adams needs to rest, right? The Houston Rockets are clearly investing in a double big lineup with mainly Steven Adams and Şengün, but of course you can always insert Clint Capella in there whenever, say, Adams needs a break, or say maybe even Şengün needs a break, or you need some time off from the regular season. So he commended a lot about what this team has done in free agency. Probably the hottest team in free agency, making the best moves so far, in my opinion. And obviously biased, but at the same time, I think it's absolutely true, as Zach Lowe points out, saying, quote, "I don't know if there's such a thing as being too big the way they are, this fast and this athletic," as he's talking about the Houston Rockets roster. Between the Rockets and what the Nuggets did, I think they come in 2 and 3 in the West with a bullet right now. I have no criticism with the Rockets offseason. I think it's been a home run all the way around, end quote. And quite certainly, there's a lot of people that feel this way. I mean, Shams pointed out the other day, it was like recapping the last 15 days of the Rockets and, signing KD, signing Dorian Finney-Smith, re-signing Steven Adams, all these things that the Rockets did. They're just going to put them to the next level. Now, Zach Lowe asked John Hollinger. He was like, what do you think? What do you think about this roster? He had some good things to say, but there was something that he said that's got a lot of Rockets fans raising their eyebrows, as he went on to say this quote right here. He says, quote, "I think it's been really good. I do wonder how this is actually going to play out on the court. I mean, there are no real wings on this team, and there is one point guard that they trust." End quote. No real wings. What? No real wings. We probably have the most wings ever at this point, quite frankly. Amen Thompson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Tari Eason. These are all wings. We have the wings. I don't quite understand what John Hollinger is saying here. Now, I'm trying to, figure it out, right? What does he mean, no wings? I feel like there is probably still a shooting problem, right? Okay. I can see that, but no wings? No wings? That doesn't quite make sense to me. And Zach Lowe questioned on this. He was like, what are you talking about? What about Tari Eason? What about Dorian Finney-Smith? What about Amen Thompson? What about those guys? And then John Hollinger kept going. He almost doubled down, essentially, saying that, quote, "If you were building a team from scratch, you would have all three of them at the 4. I just disagree. I absolutely disagree. To me, that doesn't make much sense. I understand Amen Thompson's a guy who can guard a lot of positions, but he is not a 4. They can play the 4. Don't get me wrong. They totally can. Amen Thompson is very talented, 6'8". Tari Eason, very talented, can also technically be your 4 by any means, but from scratch, those aren't exactly 4 guys, right? I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense if you ask me. And Zach Lowe, his reaction was almost a non-reaction, right? He was, as soon as John Hollinger was like, "Oh, I think they're gonna do from scratch, they would all be fours, right?" And then Zach Lowe went, "Okay, not much to say." It's kind of a absurd thing to say if you ask me. It doesn't really make much sense. I get it from the perspective of, okay, uh, is there still a shooting problem? Is there someone who, you know, there that can be that guy to kind of, get the ball from three, shoot from three, drive, create their own shot? I mean, that's kind of what we got KD for. But at the same time, I can kind of get it, right? I can kind of understand where he's coming from, but at least the way he said it, the way it came off, didn't really make much sense to me. I mean, no wings on this team. There's plenty of wings on this team. As of right now, Cam Whitmore's on the team. He's a wing. As of right now, Alvin Thompson's on the team. He's a wing. Tari Eason, Dorian Finney-Smith. We've got that area covered. Now, do I still have concerns with shooting? Of course, right. Shooting is going to be was one of the downfalls of this team last season. Not terrible, but at the same time could be better. Needs to be better if you want to be a championship caliber team. Again, that's why you get out and get a guy like Kevin Durant, who is going to do a lot of that scoring for you. But again, was something that Zach Lowe questioned him on. He was saying, like, I'll bring up the quote. He said, I'm going to believe in Eason's jumper. I just think that they are so versatile defensively that particularly Eason and Thompson, I almost can't pigeonhole them into a position. And I like how they protect Durant in that regard. And he's absolutely right. This defense from the Houston Rockets is going to be second to none next season. I honestly think they will be the best defensive team in the NBA next season. They are a very long team, very, very physical. They were already one of the best teams in the NBA last year. I think they were ranked third overall in defensive rating throughout the regular season. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they were absolutely phenomenal the way Ime Udoka has instilled in this Houston Rockets team the importance of defense and how that is going to get them to a championship. And now they just got a whole lot better. Quite frankly, they just got a whole lot better. And I do think that it's going to be the tipping factor in, winning and losing playoff games is their uh, consistency in their defense, because they can guard. Again, these players can guard multiple positions. I look at a guy like Amen Thompson. Zach Lowe says, "Oh, he's the four in any other." If you're starting from scratch, Amen Thompson's a four. He can also guard the one. Like, if you can guard 1 through 4 as he's going to be entering his third year, like, that is unmatched. That is hard to find in the NBA. For to have that someone do that and do that at the high level that Amen Thompson is able to do that. And so I look at the defense and I look at how big this team is, and it's a lot to be excited about. And Zach Lowe and John Hollinger talked a lot about that as well. They were kind of geeking out about it because it is almost, you hardly see this in the NBA nowadays. Uh, and so Zach Lowe said, I just think they are going to be an absolute monster to deal with. Can you imagine trying to box this team out? And to which John Hollinger replied, he said, it is crazy. They are going to lead the league in loose ball fouls drawn by a mile. By a mile, he says they are going in. Quite frankly, I cannot disagree with that. I mean, this team, you add Kevin Durant, who is already so impossible to guard. You add Dorian Finney-Smith, who is another very physical player, as well as, you still have Şengün, you still have Amen Thompson, who are only going to get better, who are only going to keep crashing the paint and trying to get those easy layups and posts around the basket. And so I look at this team and I look at their lineups and I can't help but get excited. Now, as crazy as the statement that John Hollinger said, right, shooting is still something that this team needs to, hopefully find and develop next season. I know there's also Reed Sheppard, who is a fantastic three-point shooter, and who John Hollinger also kind of said you only have really one point guard you can trust, and that may be on some level true, right? Like, Reed Sheppard did not play a lot last year. He is going to step up in that backup point guard role for this team, and so it's something that he is going to have to step up to in only his second year in the NBA. But at the same time, right, I do think, head coach Ime Udoka and this coaching staff do trust in him in being that backup point guard. I mean, You drafted him 3rd overall for a reason, right? To fulfill a role, to be in that position, to play in those games and make a difference with whatever that role is. And so I feel like the plan always was to sign Fred VanVleet and at some point have Reed Sheppard take over those reins. Now I don't think that would be next year by any means, but in 3 years, 4 years, Reed Sheppard will be that starting point guard. And so this is just the start of that long journey. So although we might not have full knowledge and a belief that he will be that guy immediately. No, of course not. That is going to be something that's going to take time, that they knew was going to take time. And this is just the start of that. And so you have him as your backup, who has shown a lot of good signs and improvement with himself, with his development, with his coaching staff. You can't help but be a little psyched out about it. I feel like Reed Sheppard is a guy to keep. Hopefully, he is not traded away. I know there's a lot of talks about that right now, but at the same time, I do think he is a key piece in developing and could be a great Rockets player for many, many, many years to come. So that pretty much wraps it up for this episode of Rockets Digest. Let me know in the comments what you think about John Hollinger's statements. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Please tell me you disagree. And let me know there in the comments section. All right. This has been another episode of Rockets Digest. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have not already, subscribe. If you made it to the end of the video, that tells me you're a diehard Rockets fan. Go ahead, hit that button below. All right, we'll see you on the next one. Adios.